Hello, hello, good evening. Hope everyone's okay. How's everyone doing? Do you know, we've seen a little bit of a turn. I know I talked, and I hope this isn't too echoey. I might be on the wrong button. Hopefully that's a bit better. Sorry about that. So last week we talked about the seasonal effects in Bitcoin, where the market tends to either have a bit of a pullback month in January, go sideways, do some back and fill. And if you look under the hood in the green months, in the months that Bitcoin has a positive month, you tend to rally early in the month, top out somewhere between the 4th and the 10th, and then sell off for the rest of the month. And that's exactly, sorry, I've got to turn this on. That's exactly what we've seen so far in Bitcoin. In fact, I didn't think it would all pay out so fast in 3 days. I didn't think that we would drop from 42,000 to 30,000 in 3 days. But, you know, that's Bitcoin. And the higher you fly, the further you fall. So now the key question is going to be, well, is this 30,000? Because originally, you know, we were looking, if we go back to the monthly, we were looking at this 30,000 level to be a bit of a resistance, an interim resistance level where we might see some back and fill. The way this monthly candle's going, if we end up down here negative, then we will have held this resistance on a monthly chart, won't we? And we will be in line for a pullback. And this, I still think this is a 1, 2, 3. We'll be in line for a bigger pullback if we measure this whole swing from this high to low, and we'll hide these other ones. Let's talk about, because at the moment, you know, back testing a fib level that you've broken above is a really good support level. But if we look from these highs to these lows now, we are underneath the big 236 fib level. That's at 32,996. So now, you know, we're sitting on this, if I go down to the daily, we're sitting on this daily 20 moving average. We have got this big round number support, but there's potential that when we rally, we might not get above this 32,996 before we do kind of one more push lower. And if we did one more push lower, let's go back to that monthly, the most common correction of a wave 3 is a 38.2, which, if we did this, would bring us back to 27,400. Sometimes you can come back 50%. 50% is very common in a correction. And if we did that, that would be 22,900. If we did 50% of this whole swing, interestingly, 22,500. Sometimes you can come back almost to the 61.8. Remember, this is the top high of our wave 1. We could come all the way back and overshoot in a typical Bitcoin way, and potentially even retest these highs from 2017. I think if we did that, that would be a gift, really a gift. So the only people who are going to be feeling really pain or not happy are going to be kind of hodlers. For people who've felt like they've missed out, or for me, I took a lot of risk off at this 30,000 level, and I sold quite a lot of Bitcoin, and I never really kind of piled back in again in this last stretch. You know, I thought, oh, well, I'll wait to come up to 46 and do a bigger pullback before I kind of load up again. So, you know, this is only distressing if you're, you know, stuck, really. If you have some capital, or if you de-risk a bit, then you have money to buy back on the pullbacks. And at the moment, you know, this is not, it's pretty sharp, but I think, you know, it's nothing more than the seasonal pattern. And there is a lot of potential that we will see a bounce here. But are we going to bounce, you know, all the way back to 40,000 and let people get out at a good price? I'm not sure that we're going to do that. So let's take a look under the hood where we are at the moment. So we know now that this 33,000 level is this fib level that we've broken underneath, and that's now kind of our resistance that we have to get above. if we're going to do a bigger bounce. And if we did a bigger bounce, I think, 36,000 for sure, this previous high, maybe 37,000 would be where I would be looking. If we make a wedge here, so this is, remember, this is just a short-term 15-minute chart for people who are watching. So if we make a wedge or a triangle pattern here, or a little bear flag, that's very common in a wave 4. And that would say that we've got one more push lower to come before we go up again. In which case, let me take these pullback off, and we'll put back on our hidden fibs. There we go. So I think, you see how we haven't quite tagged our fib support level? I think if we were to make a little triangle or wedge or bear flag here, that one more breakdown, you know how Bitcoin loves to do that. So one more breakdown and a tag of this level would probably be it, and that would be the support. So a big down day. Now, are we going to turn out people who are buying this dip? Everybody always expects it to just fly. Are we going to likely to do that after a move of this momentum down? We are not. The most likely move tomorrow is either that we continue lower, make a marginal new low maybe and bounce, or we see an inside bar. So there's really no rush to be, falling over people. Many times when Bitcoin makes a low or a high, and let me zoom out, it almost always, double tests. So, I mean, not always the same price. Let me try and get rid of that squiggly line. So you get either quite a deep pullback or a retest, double touch, double touch, double touch, double touch. Here on the lows, bounce, retest, and very often with Bitcoin, a slightly lower low, or for a high, it'll be a very slightly higher high. So we made a high here, slightly higher high. Here we trick everybody that we're on our way up again, and then reverse. That's a very common Bitcoin pattern. So I would not be surprised at all. Just a warning for all these people already long, I would not be surprised at all if we retested these lows and made a slightly lower low just to squeeze everybody out before we go up again. So, if you're going to bed tonight with a really tight stop, you might not be so happy tomorrow. Let's see. So that's kind of where I think we are. Some people are really pessimistic. You're selling your extra organs to pay your mortgage. I feel like selling my house to buy Bitcoin. So, listen. Do I think that this, listen, let's go back to the monthly chart. Let's not get all depressed here. Because these were always the levels that I had. And if we look at each on the monthly, look at how we stopped at each of these levels, okay? 20,000. 30,000. We've stopped at 40,000. We're doing that kind of round number effect thing, but after each one, it was we carried on again. We could go all the way back up here again by the end of the month, and we would not, yeah, I know this chart looks horrible. Who's saying that? It's only the 11th of the month. The problem is we always thought we knew we might be in for a rough January. We knew we might be in for a January where we rallied early and then pulled back. Ross Davidson, buy high, sell low. Listen, for a year, I've not heard from any of my friends about Bitcoin. None of them. A year. And then last week, three of them are, ringing up. Do you think we should buy Bitcoin now? We're at 42,000. Messages on Facebook from people. Is this a good place to buy Bitcoin? I'm like, no. In fact, I told someone last night, no, wait for a pullback till 30,000. Because this, fibs, for me, Fibonacci levels are like a staircase. So only if we, kind of closed under this support cluster would I say, oh God, it's going to be, you know, but the first time back to it, the most likely thing that we're going to do is bounce. So the problem is with these markets is, you know, Bitcoin has so far exceeded, you know, what people are expecting. It went up $20,000 in 20 days or something. And so people started to think, you know, it's that feeling like in housing markets, right? When you think, you know, you have to buy now or you'll never, ever be able to afford to buy it again. That's when you feel that, that's a really good time to just walk away and wait, you know. So I do think that we're at a level that where we could see a really nice bounce. I'm not sure what we're going to do here. This may be, you know, what we may see for the rest of the month is this may be the low, this zone. And we may end up doing, you know, as you know, in wave 4 positions, you very often do make a wedge or a triangle. So we could make a triangle pattern like that. A, B, C, D, E usually, and carry on. And we could, you know, hold this $30,000 level. I do think that there are two kind of inflection points, and I think a lot of this is to do with the dollar, because the dollar's had a massive rally today, and the dollar had a massive rally because if in non-farm payrolls on Friday, they the wage inflation, which was a 7-month high of 5.1%, 5.1%, that's wage inflation in the United States. So, you know, we keep talking about how much money they're going to print and what the Fed are going to do about it. But, you know, it's really hard for them to do much when wage inflation is 5.1%. Kind of caps things. And so all these people, you know, talking about the demise and the end of the dollar. Now, that may be an anomaly. And we've got the worst COVID deaths and things are pretty bad in COVID land at the moment. And we'll find out next month, you know, if that was an anomaly and wage inflation is not, in fact, that high or going down. So, you know, whenever, if the dollar stays really strong, and the, you know, United States kind of fire back, that is going to be a bit of a dampener. The one thing that's going to help us is the stimulus package. If they really, really do print a lot of money, I think that would be good for Bitcoin. But, you know, we've kind of got competing factors. Mick said, do I think patterns will change as market participants change? Yeah, and I think a lot of institutions and corporates, let's face it, this huge, so we had our big resistance, didn't we, here at 20,000. So you imagine you're a big corporate, okay, and we've got the holidays. So most of these big funds, you know, take 2 weeks off. And right as they took 2 weeks off, Bitcoin breaks above 20,000. This is Christmas. So people would have thought, oh yeah, you know, it'll come back and retest it, I'll buy it. And we went sideways at Christmas and then it just took off again. So this whole last 5-wave rally, because of the holidays, was without those corporates. Well, if they wanted to bring it back so they could buy it there, they can do that. Go-to-Matt says, you haven't seen a BART for a while. I know. Listen, if, you know, they are going to print a lot of money, a stimulus package. I think that that initially, at least, will be really good for Bitcoin. You know, the problem is that it was everybody's big idea for the year, you know, and what happened when people came back to work in the corporates and institutions, you would look at this and you would say, well, you can't buy this here. Look, how far away are we from the 200 moving average? The 200-day moving average is down here. It's 14,000. So you've got to say to yourself, well, there's nowhere to buy it and there's no signal to sell it. So you just have to wait for it to come back. And so I think that's what we're doing. We're doing our kind of January pattern. Sally, let's see now. The problem is that most corrections are 3 waves. So if we do a 3-wave correction here, we've had one leg down, we need a bounce, and we need another one before we can go again. It might look like that. It might look like this, and we might do a really shallow one, and we might continue down here. I think that's unlikely, but I think if we get stuck underneath this daily 20 moving average, that's probably where we go. And I think that rather than look at it as 10,000 round numbers, we should probably look at it as 5,000 round numbers. Because we tried a little bounce here at 35,000, and if you look here, this high, 35,000, and we've seen this in ETH. So I would say if we drop another one, we'll probably drop, you know, down to, and you can see the support and resistance, 25,000, and then 20,000 after that. So did I buy my ETH again? Yeah, no. So let's be patient this month. Like, really, I know some people, and I'm the same, especially when I'm in cash, like it's burning a hole in my pocket. I think we bounce here, and I'm going to watch how this bounce unfolds, and then we'll either retest the lows, or we'll do another big pullback, or it'll keep going, you know. I think that I did buy a little Bitcoin against this 30,000 level on this low, but I'm crossing myself really, because we should really wait for this to be retested. And I certainly wouldn't kind of pile all in yet, you know. We need kind of more evidence of a bottom, and we haven't really got it yet. So, but this would be a really good place for it to come back to, these previous lows and so on. It's just that, what if everybody here's the thing, what if everybody piles, the problem with crypto is if everybody piles in and buys it here, and they put all their stops underneath it, which is not far away. For these exchanges, those stops become really tempting, you know. So the exchange run the stops, and down it goes. And those stops, unfortunately, because they're sell orders, aren't they? If you're buying, the protected stops are sell orders. And so that's like rocket fuel that sends it lower, and if there's enough of them. So, you know, if everybody piles in and buys it here, then we could see a bit of a move, a nasty spike before we go up again. Oscar Rixo says it's over, nearly 35% gone. But yeah, but this is crypto, and in a market like it happens so faster. It happens so fast. Coinbase can't buy stop run. I know. Anyway, I think we've pulled back to a bounce level. We need to watch how the bounce unfolds, but I would not be rushing. I think that let this calm down. Is it suddenly going to turn around and fly higher without you? I would say probably not. Red said, what would happen if China suddenly lost all their miners? We'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? That's the problem when they're all concentrated in one place. I think eventually other people would step up to do it, but you lost your win. I know. Well, we've wiped out a week of moves, haven't we? So we overshot. You know, even I got a little bit FOMO. If we mark where that 40,000 level was over the weekend, I watched it above that 40,000 level, and I was like, "What's this? Are we really going to keep going?" You know, I really did expect more of a. But you know, as soon as you make a lower high and you're underneath it, that was the sign. So let's take a look, because at the moment everything is coming off together. So in Ethereum, this is Ethereum Tether. We had this back pattern reversal. So when you reverse at an 8, remember, fibs are like a staircase for me. So when you reverse at a fib level like this 886 here, now people say, what is the 886 fib? Well, because it's not on most fib things. So if you think that 61.786 is the square root of 61.8, and 886 is the square root of 786. So that's how you get this 886 fib level. Okay, so we said if we close below 1149, well, the target is 754. The problem is this is a correction and this is going to be 3 waves. So if we look at it under the hood, we're going to have a bounce and then we're going to have another wave lower before this is over. So this is the first leg, and then we're going to have a bounce, and this is the second leg. Well, you can say, well, what if it's an equal measure move? We could kind of perhaps reverse engineer it. Where might we bounce to? Gosh, you know, we could, if we bounce from here, we could come all the way up to 1209 before we go down again, and it would still be an equal measure move, couldn't we? Or we could do one of those ones where the second swing is only 61.8 of the first swing, in which case we're only going to bounce back to 1030. So, you know, we have to see how the bounce really unfolds. And I don't know, I'm not psychic, but I think that we've only seen the first leg down. I expect a bounce to retest these daily moving averages, and then I expect another leg lower before this correction is over in Ethereum and in a lot of the other big coins that we look at as well. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I've got my list. Hold on. Which I seem to have lost. I apologise. I'm just going to look for the list of order of coins that we're doing. Thank you. So Litecoin. In Litecoin, we've done a very similar, let's go, very similar, not as in a nasty reversal, but big fib level for Litecoin. So we'll put our fibs on again, highs to low in Litecoin US dollar. And this was a 38.2 fib level. I was really fascinated to see if we could close above this, because then the target would be this 50%, but we couldn't. Here, we've dropped back to the 236 fib. That is where the support is. So Litecoin and Bitcoin have pulled back to a really good support level, which makes me think that if we can hold this, that this will be another one where we do some sideways back and fill. So is this a really good level to bounce from? Yes, it is a really good level to bounce from. Daily 50 moving average as well. So we could very easily see a nice bounce from here. Where might we bounce back to in Litecoin? First stop would be 50% of today's open close and the daily 20 moving average, which is at 142. Maybe a little bit higher to squeak to 150. But again, this is just the first leg. Remember, corrections are normally, sometimes they're funky and simple like this, but they're usually 3 waves. So this is a first wave, we need a bounce, and then another wave before we can think about buying for the long term. Now, sometimes in an uptrend, we see some funky moves. We've seen it in Bitcoin. So we'll be rallying away and we'll do a pullback. And then sometimes the B leg of the correction will make a new high, and then you'll do this and you'll carry on. Okay, and sometimes it'll look even funkier. So your B leg will be a bit higher, and then your C leg will make a new low. And so it doesn't even look like a correction. It just looks like trend continuation. But this actually was a correction. So here, I think we're at a decent level to bounce, but we're not over with the correction in Litecoin yet. So we just kind of need to be patient. Another good one is Neo. Now Neo has pulled back to these previous highs, 38 points here, and 38.2 fib Is this a really good level for NEO to bounce from? Yeah, it's not bad. And if we look at this swing, it's exactly 50% of this swing. So this is another one where coin is pulled back to a really good support level, but it's just, you know, I don't know, maybe this one has been a little bit clearer. This might be correction complete here in NEO. A little bit lower, and then a bounce level. So 20.74 support for NEO. Now, lots of people are going to look at this and go, oh, it's a head and shoulders pattern. It does look like a head and shoulders pattern. When head and shoulders patterns fail, it's because they're kind of ABC corrections. So if we do that, either 20.74 is support here for NEO, and if we go a little bit lower and we do that equal measured move, we come down to 18.2. So 20.74, if that breaks, look for 18.2 and potentially head and shoulders pattern target all the way down here of 14. So quite important that we don't see a close below 20.47 in NEO Tether. If we look at NEO Bitcoin, on all of these, you know, I think it's good to look at the ones that are outperforming Bitcoin, because they become better bets when thing turns up again. And so we can say this about NEO. NEO is a good one to look for it to hold that support. And I would look at that 27.74 level to hold, because it is nicely outperforming Bitcoin. Okay, so the next one that we're going to look at is Lend, AAVE. Seem to be a little bit disorganized tonight, but that's normal, isn't it? So Bitcoins, actually I was going to, just before we move on, I was going to say Dash is a really good example of what's going on in these Bitcoins. So if we look at Dash Bitcoin, because we looked at NEO, which is outperforming Bitcoin, but if we look at Dash here, this in the sell-off underperformed Bitcoin. I think it's pulled back to a really cool support level, and you know, this has turned it around, or it looks to be turning it around. And so in this case, against Bitcoin, Dash is a really good support level, but because on the drop it's dropped more than Bitcoin, if you like, let's take a look, because I think this Dash Tether chart then becomes pretty ugly. So if we look at Dash Tether, here we'll go to the weekly, sure enough it is. And this is another one of those fib patterns where I think this is a big ABC, and when you reverse it to 786, you should go to the 38.2 fib. That's your first target. So for us, this first target then is down here. So we haven't done it yet. What we've done is the first leg, and then we'll look for a bounce, and then a second leg. So a good level to bounce from, back to this 50%, really good support and resistance. So there's a pretty nice trade, you know, in between from 129 to 110, but I don't think the correction's over until we come back to 91. So yeah, a lot of these altcoins are going to do the same. And the ones to look at after a day like today are the ones that held up against Bitcoin. Which ones outperformed? How can you do that? Well, you can go to a website like CoinGecko. Let's go to CoinGecko. Okay, so this gives you performance last hour, 24 hours, 70 days. So we'll click 24 hours. And so we'll look what's outperformed in the last 24 hours in this really nasty sell-off. What's outperformed Tether? Quant, flat with Tether, so like a stable coin. NEO up 1%. Blockstack, STX 1.8, and Horizon, Zen, the only ones. So, you know, that's a good way to look for, screen for coins that are outperforming. And then I like that website. It says sell Bitcoin. You think it'll drop below? You think you think a false? Yeah, that's a very Bitcoin move, Thunder God, for us to do a little fake, false breakouts, false breakdowns, breakouts are really powerful reversal signals. So if you think about this low here as well, this was the last swing low before the rally. So if we were going to do a dirty drop here, we would come down to these lows, the daily 200, and then perhaps maybe do a really sharp bounce. Ripple is a dud. Ripple isn't going to do anything until we hear about a settlement. Unless they settle with the SEC, they're stuck. Here's the thing, though. We are not party to the discussions or what's going on with the SEC, so we don't know. And I think the first time that something's coming is insider buying. Some people will know, and there'll be insiders buying. And then we will see their footprints in the chart, if you like. What I would love is technically to see some kind of a inverted head and shoulders pattern here. I think we've got a pretty good neckline around 0.35, 0.37, and that's what I'd be looking for. So if we make a higher low and we start to turn up and we start to see signs of buyers, then that may be, I would think of, I wouldn't pile in to Ripple, but I would look at it like a lottery ticket, because if they do settle, it will take off. And, when the news comes out, that's when you sell, by the way. You sell to all the other people buying. So that's what I would do. So, listen, the main message is with this move, we need to let things calm down. It's a seasonally one of those months. We could see exactly that same seasonal pattern, play out in stock indexes and in risk generally. We could see stock markets go sideways for the next 9 days until we have the inauguration. And it may be that we go to the beginning of February before, things turn around. I don't think buying against 30,000 is a bad idea. I think it's, buy a little. Would I pile all in and intend to hodl? I'd be very careful, because we could, go back to 20,000, no bother, and there would be no damage to the trend in Bitcoin. Let's put this daily chart up, right? The 200-day moving average is the king of the chart. As long as you're above the 200-day moving average, you're in an uptrend. The 200-day moving average is all the way down here at 14,700. So, we could easily come back to 20,000 and bounce, and this would, on a daily chart, still be in a uptrend. So, we just got to identify the kind of levels and just be careful. If we sit here for a long time and a lot of people buy here, and you see that at the moment, we could see another flush lower. Right now, I think people are shell-shocked, and there's a little bit of blood in the street, which is why I think that we'll have a decent bounce. There's always, corrections are always 3 waves. 1, 2, 3. Sometimes they don't look like it, obviously, but they are. Okay, so let's move on. Sorry, it's really all about Bitcoin, isn't it, and crypto. So let's look at Lend. First of all, how is Lend performing versus Bitcoin? And let's take a look at this chart. This is a daily chart. So anything that's going sideways has a little inside day or a doji day. It's doing what Bitcoin's doing. So if the value of your Bitcoin has gone down, the value of your Lend has gone down. But is this in a horrible uptrend? No. It's flat, trendless, sideways. So let's take a look at Lend dollar and see if we've got a nice ugly. Okay. Right now, we're just going to use retrace fibs from here. So we're going to go from the low to the high. And remember, the 236 fib is your like Fibonacci trend thing. So first off, you would put it on the most recent swing. So if you were looking at this hourly, okay, we would put it on this swing here. And we would say, as soon as this 236 fib breaks on our hourly, we've stopped going up and we're going down. And you see how we sat on that level, sat on it, broke. Okay, so we can do that on big swings and then we can do it on small swings. If we do it on the big swing here, we can say that if we close underneath this 236 fib, then we're going to probably have a bigger correction. We stopped at the 38.2 and these previous highs. That's really good support and resistance for a bounce. But only if we get back above this 236 fib again are we going to do a bigger bounce. And it may be that we bounce and then continue lower. 50, you'd be amazed how common 50% or a 50% retrace is in corrections. So far, remember, in this one, we've only done one pull lower. We've only had one swing. So we're either going to go like this and then carry on higher, or we're going to do this and bounce and then, you know, but it's usually three waves, yes. So I do think we bounce here and lend. How high? Let's see. We're doing that three, so we might do little 5 waves up and down again. We might just do a shallow pullback if we can't get above 110, or if we can't get above this hourly 200 moving average. It may be that we just do a very shallow pullback and then we carry on. So just be a little bit careful. Where do you buy SPACs or stocks? Goldman. Well, there are lots of exchanges. I'm not gonna. I would just be a little bit patient, you know. I think a lot of people as well in the US are expecting trouble around the inauguration. That's going to be very interesting, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. HBAR was amazing, wasn't it, when it was going up? Now, let me go back and find out what coin is next. So this is a little bit of a reversal. We've got pretty strong resistance here in lend. We might even come all the way up here, but I would then expect another swing lower before this is over, or a retest of the lows, or a bottoming pattern. You know, if you get a bottoming pattern, so you'll get a double bottom, right? You know, if you break the high of your double bottom, you're going up because you've got that retest. Sometimes very often you get triple bottoms. When you get a triple bottom, it's very often a false break and then up, okay? Because you're just running the stops under the double bottom. But when you break the top of that range, you know that you're going up again. So that's what I'd be looking for in lend. Okay, I'm really sorry. I have to go find my list and I can't. I should have had it ready. I'll just. Shit. Bullshit. Hold on. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is NEO. I think I did NEO. If I didn't, I did do NEO, didn't I? I've gone out of order. OMG. Okay, this fall in OMG was pretty nasty. Let's look at where we are though, because let's tidy up my chart here. We'll do some little fib rules. Okay, we've got our fib on from this high to low, this 5-wave swing. When you reverse at a 61.8, you're in that gold. You do that golden ratio zone thing. So when you reverse at a 61.8, if you break the 50%, you have two targets. back to the 38.2, which we did look in this first swing, 61.8, 38.2, back to the 61.8. And your second target, if you do it, is the 236 fib. And so this is where we've come back to now. And from here, I would expect a bounce back to the middle, or at least back to the previous resistance, so 3.2. So this is a very good level for OMG to bounce. Not only that, but when you have a big candle, so a big daily range open close, 50% of that, it's called, with not very big tails either end, then 50% of that candle, of the open close, not the tail, is often where your resistance is. So when we close, you can measure from the open to the close, and 50% back, which if we closed here would be somewhere in the middle here, that would be where you would be looking for it to rally to. And then see if we can make a bottoming pattern. So rally back to resistance, which, oh look, previous high. That's normal in a trend, isn't it? So you go back and retest the previous highs. And then if we made a bottoming pattern like an inverted head and shoulders pattern, that would be cool. If we did a double bottom, that would be a good, if we just go sideways or make a triangle or anything that you can, read a breakout from, that would be a good setup. So from here, I expect to bounce back to 3.2, potentially 3.3, and then see where we go from there in OMG, and see how it unfolds as well. If we just make a big 2 equal measured move swings, that's usually the sign of a correction, and we're still in a downtrend. So that's what I'd be looking for next in OMG. Okay, I've gone well out of order. I don't know how this has got to happen like this. Okay, sorry. Okay, ADA. Let's go to the weekly chart of ADA, because ADA's done the same pattern as Ethereum and so many of these coins. So we've reversed an 886. We broke under the 786. Our target is back to this 50%. We haven't got there yet. So, so far this is pretty bullish. Remember we talked about how 50% of the open close of a candle with a big long body is very often a inflection point or a support and resistance. So here on the weekly, this is 50% back of this big green candle. So if we hold in the top half, it's kind of bullish consolidation, but I would expect, so we've done ABC. I would now expect a rally and then another swing lower, or we shallow bounce and we continue lower. I think that we should come back to 0.203 in ADA. Looking at this weekly though, it's just on the weekly, it may count as a 786 reversal, because we never closed above this 786 level. In which case, if we can hold above this 61.8, we stay in an uptrend. So, ADA might be in not such bad shape. This is a pretty nice ABC. This says that this is a correction, look, and not a impulse so far anyway. Sometimes they look like it, but you can see this is a perfect ABC. So ADA would be one of the ones holding this level where I think if you wanted to nibble at something, ADA would be a really good one to do it. So yeah, I quite like ADA for a bounce. Now, if we don't make a new high, or if we get back to 0.309 and we can't get above it, that becomes resistance, then watch out for another leg lower. 0.309 is really an important level to get back above if you buy some ADA here. So yeah, that's quite a good setup, not too bad anyway. So the next one we're going to look at is XTZ. Tezos. This is a really good example of that 61.8 now. I'm going to put it on from this 61.87. Now, if I go from here, we've reversed it as 786, 61.8. This 50% is a pivot in the middle, and our target is up here. So I could see this going A, B, C. So 3.31. So I'm looking for this to hold support and make another swing higher. It is really struggling, isn't it, though, at these previous highs. And these flat moving averages mean sideways range, no real trend. So what if I've got this wrong, which is possible? You know, this is pretty trendless. That's the biggest problem in Tezos. Look at that 200-day moving average, completely flat. This looks like, you know, Tether or a stable coin. I think within this we can say, we can bin our fibs if you like, and we can say, you know, we've got some pretty clear levels. So we've got this level here in the middle. We've got this level at the highs, and if we connect these lows in here, but I'm not sure that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. So after 5 waves up, you expect a 3-wave correction before you carry on again. So yeah, I kind of like this to be a bottom, and I do think we should continue higher, but I can't clearly see that we've finished this correction yet. If I look under the hood at the 4-hour though, we might have. So this might just be like ADA and ready to go. %50 back. If it was 50% back, I'd be going, ooh. It is kind of around there. Do you know, the only thing you can do, I would say, if this gets back above the 200-day or starts getting back above some of these horizontal levels, then yeah, it's on its way back again. But at the moment, you've got this huge bearish reversal candle. So, you know, if you follow the rules, more than 50% up on this candle, that would confirm a bullish reversal. And then above that 200-day, that would confirm a bullish reversal. Do I think that this is a good place to nibble at a buy? I actually do. Like a lot of coins and like ADA, I do think this is a good place to have a nibble, just like Bitcoin at 30,000. But there is a risk that we just rally lower high and we do another swing before we go. So this wouldn't be my favorite pick, just because no trend really. No trend yet. Anyway, but certainly I like it as a spot to buy it. I do like it. Okay, OMG, BCH, RSR, OMG. So this is another one. We've just done OMG, haven't we? Really good place to bounce from. We've done OMG. My apologies. I'm going completely out of order. BCH. I got to get a better system for this. Look, this is BCH against Bitcoin. Look how we reversed at these previous highs. You know, whenever you attempt a reversal, so if you think what a definition of a trend is, a downtrend is lower highs and lower lows. As soon as you take out a previous high and then you make a higher low, you've altered the trend. And so therefore, these previous highs, they become really important in when you're trying to reverse and go into an uptrend, and vice versa. And that's where you very often see profit taking. So here, this is what we're seeing. We're building now a sideways range in BCH. So flat moving averages, flat daily 50 moving average, flat daily 20 moving average. We need to wait and see whether you're going to retest the lows, retest this fib level support at 0.0116, and we're only really going up again, and we've only really reversed the trend when we take out these highs. So we need to look on a lower time frame for a buy entry, potentially 50% back or a fib retrace, and then look for a sign. At the moment, yeah, haven't really got a clear, I think we're building a pretty good base. I'd like to see what happens when we retest it in BCH Bitcoin. So not really a clear uptrend yet, but it has potential. Look at this reversal though. So this was from the 1272, so we put our fib from high to low. This was a 1272 extension. So let's flip this now to retrace levels. Most common would be 50%, a really good place to look. We're sitting on the 38.2, so if you think it's like a staircase, if we close under 438, we're probably going to continue to 379. If we can close today above 438, we are more likely to see a bounce and a back test of this broken 236 fib and 50% of this big red candle. Remember, depending on where we close. So big long bodies, 50% of the open close body is very often resistance. So 500, 511, I think is where we could rally to if we can hold 438. Nice pullback to this daily 20 moving average. So this is, though, a really nasty 3-day reverse. If you are into candlesticks, this is a really nasty 3-day reversal candlestick pattern. When you have a big update and then a doji, so they have a, if you Google evening doji star or morning doji star pattern, it's a 3-day pattern. When you have a big up, a doji, and then you close more than 50% down on the green, that's a bearish reversal. So we've done that with bells on, and that's where the resistance is. And so it may be that we only see a shallow bounce and we continue lower. This 50% is where I would look next, and potentially back to the 61.8 in Bitcoin Cash. I'm not sure it's done, but I think that we could bounce here. So bounce and then potentially lower for BCH. 511 potentially is resistance. RSR, I haven't looked at that one for a while. That trends nicely when it wants to. I'm not looking at here's RSR. Another one, look, fibs from high to low. Where did we stop? We stopped at this 1272 fib extension. We need to make sure as well that this wasn't some just big A, it wasn't, but 1.618. So potentially, when this swing is 1.618 or 2.618 of the first swing, potentially this is a wave 3. It's got 5 waves in it. So potentially 38.2 or 50% back would be enough of a pullback. The problem with when I look at this on a 4-hour is it's just all one move. It's not a clear ABC correction, is it? So again, this is just like Bitcoin. This is potentially the first swing in a bigger correction. Now, if this is what our wave 2 looked like, we would expect a correction similar to this. How long did this take? Sometimes markets, they don't correct equally in price, but maybe equally in time. So if we did the same thing in time here, that would take us, gosh, to the 7th of February. So this is what I mean. We could see a sideways month in some of these. Now, if we did this here, remember that this was a nice simple correction here, look. we could make a triangle here, or a 5-wave wedge, or a declining wedge. We could do something like that. So we need to be, you know, we could, it's not going to look like that, but we could do a triangle before we continue higher. We could do a little rising wedge or something. So I expect more sideways. Do I think that this is a really good place for us to bounce from? A really good place for us to bounce from? Yes. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, daily 20, 50% of this wave 3 swing. There's lots to like about this. If we rally from here, when you rally at a 50% retrace, you're very often, you go up 50%. So that would mean that our first upside target would be 4034. Then we'll see where we go from there. Sometimes, you know, when you do this mean reversion, you'll do this thing. So you'll drop 50%, rally 50%, drop, and you'll coil up into a tighter and tighter pattern till you break out. So RSR tether, just the first swing, and I expect some more sideways back and fill in this one before we go up again. Held those lows pretty nicely. Remember how we talked about trend and previous highs and lows? So looking good in RSR. This is a good level to bounce from, but I'm not sure that this is the start of a new upswing yet. XVS. I'm not sure what that one is. Hold on. 1 second. I think we mean XVG, right? So we'll do XVG. Okay. Verge. So let's start with a weekly chart of Verge and just see where we are. Because for me, this was such a pretty chart, really. This lovely kind of rounded bottom that we've been making. If I bring this all the way down to this, if we draw it as a neckline, there you can see it actually doesn't work too badly. I think this is one though, I don't mind a sloping neckline if it slopes down. And if we draw it like this is pretty nice. We're just coming back to retest our breakout level, if you like. I have a big target in this one of this bigger 236 fib. But in between there and there, we've got quite a long way. I would say these fib extensions from here are what I'm looking at. And again, if we call this our 1 or A, 2B, we reached 1.618 of the A. So I'm thinking this is going to be a wave 4 correction, which again, very often is a triangle or a wedge, declining wedge or a rising wedge, some kind of sideways pattern here in Verge, and then I'm really bullish. I love this chart. So yeah, I think pullbacks in this one are a gift. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. Have we come back enough? That's the question. I think we probably have, but we could come all the way back, couldn't we, and retest that neckline. So here, if we take just this swing, we're doing that 61.8, 38.2 thing. So that means we've got 2 levels of resistance to overcome where we might have a pullback. 0.1278 and 0.0144. So our correction is going to look like that, and then back to the 50%, carry on, or maybe a little bit like this. And it may be that there's just this A leg, and then we're going to do a B leg, and then we're going to do a C leg, you know, and we might even do DE before we go. So sideways correction. I'm long-term bullish. I love this one. I'm going to buy this one, but I'm just not quite ready to buy it yet. So I don't know why. That's the daily. You know, I just would like the oscillator to reset a little bit. But yeah, definitely on my radar, Verge. Yeah, I think I'm going to let it go. And then we'll see, you know, double bottom, a bottoming pattern, some kind of a I've stopped going down look. That would be good. Yeah, Verge is a lovely chart. So long-term upside target is 0.0286 next. Okay. I will look at YFI at the end, yeah. I think YFI is next, actually, yeah. No, wait, I've got out of order. XVG. Dash. I'm going to have a look at, I think I looked at Dash earlier, but I'm going to just recap Dash. So Dash Tether, this pullback from a 786, again, just like Bitcoin, I think we're going to bounce and we're going to see another leg lower. So if you're, but I could be wrong. All the time that we are in the top half of this big green weekly candle, you know, we haven't really reversed our weekly trend. It's just a pullback in an uptrend. And potentially we continue higher from here. But for me, if we rally and we cannot get above 129, I think the chances are that we are just doing the first leg of correction, bounce, and we're going to do another leg of correction. So for me, 1.291 is key. If Dash is going to keep going higher, we will get a daily close back above us, or we will go beyond that resistance. And so if you are looking at that, that's what we really need to overcome if we're going to go up again. So 1.29, 129.1 on a daily chart. Loso Club says, you never doubt a Bitcoin could still do a 25-minute percent move in a few days. I know. The early days. We used to do that as a pullback. Just in the 2017 rally, you know, the pullbacks were fierce, sharp, really nasty. This could be the same. I think that the most likely, you know, if we look at this on a weekly, this 30,000 level, you know, we might not pull back any further than that. But I think with the January effect that we should see a bounce and a retest. That's what I'm looking for. So let's see. But yeah, this is really good support and a good level to buy against. We are bouncing pretty nicely now, aren't we? Let's see how we're doing here. Yeah. Wouldn't rule out a retest of the lows, but looking all right. Bitcoin going to 60k. I think it could. I think it's going to go to 46, 48 first, maybe 50, and then 74. I think. Like I agree with you. I'm not bearish, at all. So Dash, bullish above 129.10. So we could also draw this as a bit of a channel. Now that we've got two closes on the bottom, two lows on the bottom here. Let's change the color. And there. So there's our parallel channel in Dash Tether. So 129 resistance and then the top of this channel, but the breakout of this channel would see our next leg high. And then 189, because previous highs are going to be our target, aren't they? We're above these highs, and then 189, and then fib extensions from here, the 1272 we'll put in, and the 1.618. So we'd be looking for 232 and maybe 287 in Dash Tether. Okay. This is, if you put a gun to my head though, I think that there's potential for this to go a little bit lower. Let's see, not always, but let's see. XMR. XMR is like a early warning thing, isn't it? Whenever XMR really takes off, I always say to myself, oh, that's the whales getting out of Bitcoin and hiding where no one can see them. It's so predictable. A big move into XMR almost always precedes a little bit of a sell-off. It's people moving their money. And it did exactly that here in this time, didn't it? Now, we reached the 1.618 of this big corrective swing. When you do that, the 1272 becomes support, and that's where we found support. So 147.79 is really good support. Daily moving averages here, and again, that's where we pulled it back to. But this candlestick pattern is bearish. It points to more of a pullback. So if we continue lower, if we break 147, I think we come down to 121. So, and again, we're going to do one of those bigger ABC corrections. If we look at it like this on the 4-hour or the hourly, so far, we just had our first leg lower. Now we're going to do a B leg and then I think a C leg. So this is another one where it looks really bullish. Pull back to a great level. I'm not 100% convinced we're just going to turn around and fly higher yet, though. You know, the idea that it's all going to be over in one day, I think it's more likely that we'll see a pattern like this. So when we make a base, we have a nasty sell-off, and then have a little inside day, and then we go sideways and build a little bit of a base, and then we turn up again. That's really what I would like to see a bit of here in Monero. So yeah, bigger picture though. This Monero tether is really nice and bullish. I'm a big fan of privacy coins. If we look at Monero Bitcoin, because you kind of really want to be on something that's outperforming Bitcoin. Look at this big move from, you know, we've been going down Bitcoin all the way, and then suddenly, this is like our early warning, a day early, wasn't it? So hopefully more upside to come from Monero against Bitcoin. Up to 6,000 is where I'd be looking for, but a little bit of a pullback. This is a little bullish inside day, isn't it, at the moment, underneath the 20 moving average. Next one we're going to look at is, wait, I did XVG, I've done XMR, going to do YFI. Wi-Fi, let's have a look. Nearly there. How did I lose it? That's weird. There we go. Okay. So we had our breakout from this wedge in YFI. And we reached the first target. And now we've pulled back. 786 fib reversal. Actually, I think this is an 886. But because we didn't close above it, well, we'll call it an 886. Because if it is an 886, then we've hit our pullback target here. When you reverse at an 886 fib, let's tidy up. When you reverse at an 886 fib, your target is back to the 50%. And we've done it. So this is, if you think about it, it's like a fib staircase. Here we've hit our target. We've hit the daily 50 moving averages. Moving averages are lined up bullish. And so, yeah, this is a perfect place to have a rally from. We just need to have a look under the hood. Remember, corrections are normally 3 waves, and this to me looks like it was all one swing. And so after, you know, 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we really kind of need 3 waves. And so a big rally, you know, this second swing might only be So when I say correction, we could have a big rally, and then this next swing lower, and only needs to be 61.8 of this first one to be enough of a correction. We carry on, but I would wait for, the more prudent to wait for it to go up and then buy the pullback. But yes, this is a great level at 25,775. It's the ideal place for us to bounce from and carry on higher. So look at this tail already as well. A close back above 30,000 would be really bullish. Now, it's bounced half of the drop already today. Like, for me, I wouldn't be buying it here. I would, let's get above this resistance. Let's get above these levels, and then I'd buy the first pullback. Because these highs here, that's the trend, isn't it? That's going to be the first place that we're going to see a bit of a pullback. And then, we might even get like an inverted head and shoulders pattern or something like that. We've really only reversed the trend when we get above there, which is 32,700. But no, I do really like YFI here. Yes, hope that helps. So back to the daily. Now, actually, I base my targets on, I think, measured move. No, I don't want that anymore. Go away. Okay. So we're just going to measure this first swing. 1272, and then, yeah, 57,725. Let's put that 1272 on. I've got this as target too, but I would say watch out at these previous highs, because, previous highs, they can often cause you a little bit of a pause or a setback, even if it's just a small one. Watch out, because once we make a new high above here, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, won't we? This is a bit choppy and overlapping, but if we count that as wave 1, we haven't breached it. Look. Wait. So technically, if we don't go any lower, this is still really bullish. We'll be looking for new highs, but yeah, we might have a little bit of a setback at the previous highs. Otherwise, 48,000 and then 52,000 for YFI. I just, it's just be careful that it's, not good. Just don't expect it to necessarily turn on a dime and go, straight back up again. It may be, that we do some back and forward building a bit of base before we do. I think it looks great, but, be a bit careful. Okay, we're going to look at LTO. Let's go to the weekly chart of this one. Hit that 1.618 level, didn't we? And now we're pulling back. So really these previous highs, ideal kind of support, not closing on with this weekly. If we don't if we stay in the top half of this big green candle, that's also pretty bullish for this LTO. So it's had a bit of a bad day, but it's not a disaster. So here's our support. Oh gosh, I had that written before. Daily 20 moving average as well. It's just when we look under the hood, it feels like this is just the first swing. So we're going to see a bounce and then a pullback and a retest before we carry on. So the more conservative would be let it go, buy the dip, and see. But yeah, this is also at a really good level to bounce from. Holding above the daily 20 moving average means we're still in an uptrend. In this coin, all of our moving averages point to being in an uptrend, and we could keep going from here. I would look for the 2.618 next. Gosh, all the way up here, 0.37. So yeah, no damage to the trend, and a pullback to a really nice level in LTO. So the key thing now will be what happens on the retest of these highs, because if we make a lower high or we can't get above them, it would, if you look at what previous corrections have looked like and how long they've taken, we've just done all this in one day. So it's gonna, it may be that we do a little bit of sideways. How long did this correction take? Exactly the same. So it wouldn't be crazy to think that this correction takes us till the end of the month. So we bounce back and forward, go sideways before we go up again. So, this kind of a reversal momentum is quite strong, So everybody thinking, oh gosh, look, it's bounced from the level. I have to buy it tonight. You don't. You really don't. It's much, much better to wait for the retest. Okay? Okay, and then link. Chain link. So let's go back and find link, and then we'll take a peek and finish up with Bitcoin again. And I did want to mention gold. I think gold is bouncing from a really nice level today. Now I know gold is like not Bitcoin, but there we go. Now let's get rid of the high Kanashi. So we're going to start with a monthly chart. That doesn't help me. Let's go to the weekly. Aha. Okay, I know what's going on. So let's hide this for a second. So when you make an equal measured move, which we've done here, if I measure from this low to this high and I project it from here, we kind of did two equal swings, and that's usually a sign of a correction, a big correction. And if I go from this high to low, this was also a big 786 fib. Now when you reverse at one of those equal measured moves, I have found 80% of the time that when you come back, this level where's 61.8 level, so this is where in this measured move from this low to this high, this was 61.8, has become an important support and resistance level. And remember, fibs are like a staircase, so as long as you hold above it, you can potentially rally from here, take out this previous high and continue higher, break the bearish symmetry, if you like. So this 3.69 is good support, believe it or not, for link US dollar, even though this chart looks about as ugly as it could get. This is potentially really good support. So that's the first reason why I think that this is a good level. Secondly, if I put my fibs on from this high to this low like this, okay, we reversed the 786 fib. Now, did we tag that 886? Is that why we've stopped here? Not quite, no. So this is potentially the first swing in a drop higher, and we come back to the 38.2 and say high to the 200-day moving average. So we need to be careful in this rally that we do keep going and make a new high. But yeah, so that is the bearish cases that we could see one more low and we drop down to the 200 moving average. But at the moment, this is a pretty good level to bounce from, and let's see how high we bounce. A very common retrace and a correction is 50 or 61.8. So that would put our resistance zone somewhere here in link in between 15.4 and 16.17. So if that's all we get to, and then we see another leg lower, then I would be a little bit careful. So there. Okay, I have to check my comments. Can I do IOTA? If Bitcoin closes above 35k in the next couple of hours. Is that considered a hammer on the daily? I will look at IOTA for you. Don't worry. No, it's considered a hanging man, actually. So the candlestick pattern. No, you know, it would just be a candle with a very long tail, which would be a sign of buyers. So this candlestick pattern here, see this? You're thinking of a candle like this, wouldn't you? This is called a hanging man candle. The problem is, and they're supposed to be bearish. The problem is that if you go to the pattern site, like Bulkowski's pattern site on the internet, Bulkowski, if you Google the pattern site, SITE, you'll find it. And because he rates the performance of all the candlesticks, and this is the worst performing bearish candlestick. In fact, it performs better as a bullish candlestick than as a bearish one, and as it proved here. So no, it wouldn't be a bullish candlestick. In Japanese candlesticks, it is considered a bearish one, but it doesn't work very well as a bearish candlestick. I think most people look at it and go, oh, a pin bar, and you know. But then, you know, I have the thing about, for me, the most important thing for me is with all candlesticks is support and resistance and levels. So if I get, say, a bearish candlestick like we got here, but it's not a level, I would never trade it as a bearish candlestick, because you can get them just random. And actually, this is why on lower time frames under the daily, I like to use Heikin-Ashi candles, because they keep you out of wondering. You know, it's really only when you get to a level, I want to know what's going on. Are there buyers or sellers? And I used to, when I was first trading, you know, I needed to be quite disciplined. If I didn't have a level there, and I got, you know, sometimes you'll get a bearish candlestick like that and you'll go, oh, is there a level here? What's going on? Is there any support and resistance? What, have I missed it? What's going? And then you can curve fit it. You can convince yourself it's a level. So I wouldn't let myself trade a candlestick like that unless I already had a level there. So no, it would be a hanging man, but yeah. The thing is, hammers as well. Hammers are candlesticks that you want to see at lows, and so this is just, it's a bit not much of a pullback, you know. You want to see it at a low, really, and then I would call it a hammer. Anywhere else other than a low, it's just a candlestick with a long tail or a doji. So IOTA. Okay. Don't know what's going on here. IOTA. Let's look at IOTA Bitcoin first of all, because if it's, you don't want to buy something that's really badly underperforming Bitcoin. You really kind of want to be on the fastest horse in the race. So if you find a chart where it's going sideways against Bitcoin, then that's doing all right. You know, it's holding its own, isn't it? Like, we could say that. So I wouldn't worry about that. So here we could say about IOTA, you know, we stopped going down, and actually during this parabolic rally, we've been holding our own against Bitcoin. So that means that the IOTA dollar chart should look all right. And it does, but God, look at this nasty reversal. So the problem here for me is, if I measure this swing low to high here, you can see that we stopped at this 61.8 level, which is often the sign of a correction. And so that's what we need to get above if we're going to keep going higher to this 236 fib at 5482. So we talked about where the support was if you draw that. If I draw this now, the support is the 236 fib. If we close underneath that, we're in a bigger correction, and we are. And so I'm afraid, I think we could come back to this 50% level here. First off, which would be 3168. This is a bearish reversal really here. And potentially a much bigger correction. So Now, a late day rally, if we close in the top half of this candle, if we close back above this 236 fib, that would be a good look. If we take this most recent, yeah, more than 50% of the most recent swing, I always go, yeah, it's going to keep going for a bit. And I think this one's going to keep going for a bit, unfortunately. So let's look for a nice bounce. This is a really good, these moving averages are a really good place to bounce from. Let's look for a bounce, and then I would sell a bounce. So now, what if you're kind of new to trading? These Heikin-Ashi candles are really cool. So say we thought, well, 50% back, or these highs, or there's a bit of level through the middle here. If we were going to say this hourly 50 moving average, say, and then look where that 50% back would be. There, it's about the same price, isn't it? So 0.404. So if you use these Heikin-Ashis, if we get up here and they go red and you turn over, that's where I'd be looking to get out. I think we might, yeah, 0.4. I'm not sure we're done going down in IOTA yet, unfortunately. Scott the Nomad said, who is buying and trading it now? The Europeans. It's night time in Asia. Well, America, there's America, North America, South America, Hawaii, all those places. I'm sure they might still be trading. It's not that late in the day. There is a time of day though. So if you want the most illiquid, so illiquid as in not much liquidity, as in a really thin market, or the time of day when really funky things happen, tend to be after the US markets close and they go home, and before US markets open. So a couple of hours from now are when things usually get a little, if they're going to be funky, they get a little bit funky. So that's what I'd be looking for. Australia's just waking up, I know. They're going to be going, what the hell? What the hell? So we've made a low, we're going to have a bounce, and I'm going to look for that low to be requested. Okay, Waves, I see a request for waves. I've done. Okay. Let's start this on the weekly, because we hit a big target in waves, and this we reversed it. So we put our fibs on from this high to low, this 1272. This is what I mean. Remember all those charts that we looked at with 1272 pullbacks? It's not the end. Look, they pull back, find support, carry on. Here we've stopped at a 2.618, and normally you would expect this to be support. This is also from this swing 50%. The problem with waves for me is this is really clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a really extended fifth wave. We could come back much further in this waves, and I feel like we've only done one swing. So for me, yeah, if we lose this support, I think we could very easily come back to 3.5, and we're at 5.5 at the moment. So I don't like this bearish cross of the daily moving averages. I think if we lose these lows, we're going down to the daily 200 moving average, and that is 3.5. So waves, Waves is off the menu for me for now. Now, this is a really bearish daily candlestick as well. So I really need to see it make a base and flip these daily moving averages again. So I would say take waves off the menu for a bit. We might hold these lows. We might, having done 5 waves down, do a nice bigger correction here. If we hold them, this would be A, B, and we could do another one. But yeah. Am I sure Bitcoin is going up right now? No, I'm not. But yeah, it looks like it's going up to me, yes. Looks like it's bouncing. So we've made here, this is a 15-minute chart. So we've made a nice little inverted, I'm going to put my Heikin-Ashi on because I think it's easier to see. We made a nice little 15-minute inverted head and shoulders pattern, really. Here's this low here. So yeah, I think that we could rally from here. I think we're going to go to this previous high, which is 36,500. That's the next resistance. Also, if we put our fibs on from the high to low, that's 50% of the high to the low as well. So 36,000 is going to be a little bit of resistance, and 3750. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Now, if we went up here, which is 50%, came back and did that, I would say, yeah, here, I would go, yeah, this would be a good place. I want to see a higher low and a turn or something. The ETH Bitcoin ratio. I've been really looking for a turn in that ETH Bitcoin ratio, and it's been very tricky, hasn't it? Because I felt like, where's ETH Bitcoin? Here. I felt like this was a really cool channel. We'd had a breakout, but we're doing that correction as 3 waves thing. So we're going sideways. These moving averages are flat. But I feel like this has got a little bit further to fall. Okay, because if we go A, B, C here equal, we're going to drop a little bit further and say hi to that 200 moving average before we go up again. So it may be that we've done enough, but I don't think so. Jasmine, if you rewind, I did Ethereum at the beginning. It was the first one that I did after Bitcoin. Right, I'm going to go. I will, okay, post updates this week on Twitter. Okay. Well, you're welcome. I'll be back next week, okay? I will post some short updates on Twitter. I really do. I cannot, XLM, yeah. I cannot stress enough, I think that we need to be patient, okay? XLM, it's just stellar lumens. Okay, so we're going to start with the weekly chart of lumen. Put regular candles on, because first off, this is this one. Let's look at XLM. I hate the spiky chart. Let's look at, did that lovely ABC correction and then took off, didn't it? Can't see where the high was, up there. I'm not a fan, but let's take a look at the let's take a look at it against, okay, can't spell, idiot. I'm gonna, okay, I want really good history. I want to see where we are in this, because I have a feeling that this is getting ready for a bigger move, you know. When I put the big retrace fibs on, we've got much more outside to go in XLM, and this, you know, look at how we were outperforming Bitcoin last week. Just like Monero, you know, it's all the way back. Well, we're holding support of these weekly fibs. So let's see where we are on the daily, because in relation to the rally, this is a really nice shallow pullback. So let's look short term at this swing. I'm going to do XLM US dollar after this. I just want to look at this against Bitcoin. 786, 38.2. So we're right on the level where XLM should rally against Bitcoin from. Sometimes you go to the 236 fib. So if we continue lower here, or we can't get back above 715, we're going to drop down to 582. Now let's take a look at it against the US dollar tether. Bittrex or I just like the spikes, man, on this chart. Never mind. Stop complaining. Let's just put the fibs on anyway. Okay. Okay, that's the high. So we go from here. Okay, let's just, first off, let's just look at candlesticks, okay? Weekly candlesticks. Really bullish body on this weekly candlestick. If we only pull back, if we stay in the top half of this big green body, we're still in a really nice uptrend. If we hold above these highs, we're still in a really nice uptrend. So far, this has not been a bearish reversal yet in stellar tether. This has just been a very quick, very sharp pullback to support and potentially a really good level to rally from. If I put my level, go the highs to lows on this swing, I need this on because I can't see where was the high? 41194. There it was. Okay, this is the 61.8 of this most recent swing. So we can say in tether, if we get back above 0.26, which is the 50%, we're going to go to the 38.2. Okay. And then, you know, the thing when you're in this golden ratio zone between the 61.8 and 38.8 is you tend to do a bit of this. So you'll rally up, this 50% be a bit of resistance, you can get to the highs, you'll come back, this will be support hopefully, and if we're going to keep going higher, it'll look something like this. So yeah, this is a good level, that's 61.8 from the low, and if we go from the low lows, what we'd really like to see is a bit of confluence, like this being the 50% or something. Then we could go, oh, this looks even better as a level to reverse that, and oh look, this is the 50% from all the way back of the lows. So a really, really good place for XLM to rally from. It's 50%. Now, the problem with a 50% is, as you know, you can quite often just end up going 50% the other way and keep going, doing that 50% thing until it breaks. And so we need to be a little bit careful. So 50% from here to here means our upside target is going to be 0.3113. And then we might come back 50% and so on, but hello Mole Capital. So there, 50-cent mark, that's where I would look first. And then you might get a 50% pullback before we go higher. But at the moment, holding on here looks really good for XLM. Okay, Yovem said you got a message. Could you please send me a link to, because I will, if somebody ever asks you for money on Twitter or on Facebook from me, that is not me. It is a scam and a fake. I will never ask you for money, ever, ever. Please do not ever give money to anybody who messages you on Facebook or on Twitter. I will never do that. Okay? Please don't. Please don't. Okay, support, resistance, but yeah, holding an uptrend. Now look what we did before in this price zone in XLM. This zone that we're in here is a chop zone. You know, we could do a bit of sideways in this. And remember, from this swing, this is also like a 60%, 61.8. And so if we go left here, this is a chop zone, and we could do a bit more of the same. So be a little bit careful here. In all of these charts, it could be sideways trading for a month. What about that 20-week? Okay, thank you. All right, everyone. See you next week. If not, see you on Twitter. We live in very exciting times. Let's see how we get through this US election. That's going to be something else. Do you know that I bet somebody a car that Biden would win the election? A Mercedes. Do you think that I have won the Mercedes? No. No, because the election was stolen. I have not got the car. Just thought I'd tell you. I know they're listening. All right, everyone. See you next week.